Hello, this is Laura from Pearls of Wisdom, and today I wanted to talk about good and evil and how we can judge this in others, but most importantly, how we can judge this in ourselves. I had an experience dating someone who I believe did something sadistic to me. And I won't go into the details of what he did, but up until that point, I was quite smitten with him and thought very highly of him. There may have been some part of me that was wary and cautious, but I was very hopeful that he was a kind person. After he had done what seemed to be a sadistic act, I cut off contact, and he sent me a bunch of messages about my own character being flawed and being a bad person myself. And eventually I spoke to this person and we had a long conversation about what had happened, and he had an explanation, an alternate explanation of his actions that were semi-plausible. And then we talked about where my moral fallings were and the entire exchange and relationship. And I really had not had anyone in my whole life question my character the way that he questioned my character. And it wasn't something that I was able to dismiss easily, because we're all clearly a mix of dark and light, good and shadow. And I know I have a shadow side, and I wanted to examine that closely. And there was truth to what he was saying about my character. There was certain actions that I had done that were not morally upstanding. Not only that, but I had realized that it wasn't a one-off thing, that the behavior he was calling me out on was actually something that had come up before in my life and needed to be examined. And it was very much an exercise that was necessary for my own growth, but what I really believe that I needed to be careful of was taking on this identity of being a bad person, being evil. And that because he had shed light on some of the darkness in me, that was my full identity. And the truth is that, like, there's a big part of me that wants to condemn him as being just an evil, bad person. And I watch a lot of videos on narcissism and NPD and, malignant personality disorders. And it is very tempting to just put him in that bucket and just say, well, yeah, he's a very dark, terrible person, completely unsafe, and there are just dark, unsafe people in the world that I have to stay away from. And I can know if somebody is unsafe for me at a certain stage without being 100% sure of their entire character. I think I have to reserve some judgment. But what I need to do is hold myself up to scrutiny and look at my own failings, because to me, if there is any point of existence, it is to shape our own character and to slowly reveal our own shadow sides, or acknowledge our own shadow sides, and integrate them and not act them out in a way that is harmful to ourselves and other people. And in any case, okay, I'm reading this book called by Wing It Chair, and the main character in the book befriends a creature that most people in her realm consider demonic. And there are other creatures that look, of the same kind of race of creature that absolutely are demonic. And there's this question of, like, well, what is the difference between you? Like, you look the same, you have the same capacity, you have all the same abilities. Why are they evil and why are you not? Like, are you different races? And they're not different races. And what he continues to say is, I'm different because I choose to be different. I am not evil because I strive to choose good. And there's another storyline in the book about a boy who wants to be a monk, and he's got a fairly brooding temper. He's suffered a lot of hardship in his life, and he has, at this point in the book, because I haven't finished it yet, this point in the book, he's been told that he can't be accepted into this Brotherhood of Monks because basically his personality sucks and they don't think that he is a good fit. And there's a woman who loves him, and she really disagrees with his decision, and she just says, of all the people that she knows, he struggles and prioritizes and chooses to do good over and over and over again, no matter what his personality flaws and weaknesses are. He attempts always, to the best of his ability, to do what he thinks is right. And that's what makes him a good candidate to be the monk. I just want to say, when you look at your own character, you're going to find flaws, you're going to find weaknesses, you're going to notice different actions that you took that were not ideal. But rather falling under the shadow of, I'm a bad person, I would ask that you look at your overall goals, your overall intentions, and what you value. And if you try to do good, if you try always to make the right choices, that is what being a good person is, because there's not going to be one of us who is morally perfect, who always does good, who always does the right thing, who doesn't have a temper, who doesn't get jealous, or doesn't have moments of falling into temptation. If that was the litmus test, then yeah, we would all be bad. But the difference is, are you trying to do good? Are you trying always to grow? Are you trying to make good choices when you're able to? That's good. If on the flip side, you're constantly choosing to do what's wrong, what's easy, what you can get away with, just because you can get away with it, if you constantly choose that, your character will slowly become overtaken by shadow and darkness. And I would never want to call someone evil. I don't like that. But at the same time, that's what choosing darkness is like. I am going to bring up Darth Vader here because many of us are familiar with the Star Wars story, and Darth Vader, when he starts off in the prequels, he's not evil. He's He's very capable of love. He has a terrible temper. Eventually his losses drive him to be vengeful. And it's only because he chooses darkness over and over again that eventually the darkness overtakes him. In the end, I'm not that familiar with the movies, but I do think that he was still redeemable if he started to make different choices. I'm going to wrap this up, but what I want to say is it's good to question your own character. It's good to examine it. It's good to see your shadow side. See your own blind spots. Because when we have those blind spots, we kind of are unable to make better choices. Or we give ourselves a pass that maybe we don't deserve because we're not really looking closely at the impact of those choices. But once we can see the full impact of those choices, we can't choose darkness in an oblivious and naive way anymore. We're given the full vision of the ramifications of our choices. At the same time, we don't have to condemn ourselves. As, being a part of a dark triad or anything. It's important to acknowledge the core of our character, and if your desire to do good and make choices that are thoughtful and kind, honest, the kind of choices that bring more light and love into the world, then your character is good. Because there is no other definition of goodness except your sincere intention to want to do good. Thank you for listening.